how do you know you're in the alpha brainwave state? How do you know? Well, we don't know. So we let each person do whatever they want to do. Paul Smith listen to heavy metal music. I was like, I don't understand that. Heavy metal music. But then I went into beats per minute theory, and I actually looked it up. And then I took beats per minute in music and multiplied it by to get actually, there's a simple formula you can use to turn beats per minute into hertz rates in music. Now, when you look at the hertz rates established, they're all different based on different beats per minute. But something like heavy metal music, which you would think would just be like scraping your fingers on a chalkboard, if you just release and go into it and go with what it translates to in a hertz rate, it puts you into a delta brainwave state.
I bet you classical music does the exact same thing, because heavy metal music is actually, is that right?
It does. Yeah, it does. It's
heavy metal music is actually more related to classical than you would think. People who tend to like heavy metal music also tend to like classical.
Oh yeah. So look, it's let me see. I've got all my beats rates here. I've done a lot of translations on it. So where's a good classic metal? I mean, a good let's like say waltz. So a waltz is 84 to 90 beats per minute. That translates into 1.4 to 1.5 hertz. And if you look at the brainwave scale, that 1.5 to 5 hertz takes you into delta. That's like a sleep cycle.
Yeah.
Brainwave sleep cycle. Now you go back to, let's go to drum and bass, right? Drum and bass is 174 beats per minute. Anyway, it can actually be like 165 to 185. But so that goes to 290 to 3.08 hertz. That's delta again. Delta for drum and bass. Jungle, these are all rave kinds of things, rave kind of music. I don't know if that's the correct thing, but jungle, 155 to 190. And it goes 2.58 to 3 hertz. Again, delta. I mean, it's phenomenal when you go through this thing. And then when you go back down to like the salsa, a salsa is 3.0 to 5 hertz, right? Jive, or let's go to another one like you're talking about. Let's go to, I don't know, foxtrot, 112 to 120. So that takes you into, that's got to be in the lows. That's got to be like somewhere around 1.5 upwards, right? Just calculating in my head. So you're going to again be in a delta, a sleep brainwave state. So I didn't discover this until actually when I teamed up with Alexander Zuyev, who was he was the last Soviet pilot to defect from the Soviet Union and fly into Turkey with a MiG, with a brand, with a MiG, fully loaded MiG. That's a funny story. Ask me and I'll tell it to you sometime. But Alexander Zuyev and I met at DIA. He didn't speak any English, but we became friends. Just, I don't know, making hand and arm signals, I guess. And I met him again years later. I was in Maho Bay in the Virgin Islands, and I was lecturing on human possibility and human promise and all that kind of stuff. And I look over in the back of the lecture, and there he is. I mean, there he is, and he has now. He sold the CIA paid him, or the government paid him. I didn't know this either. Did you know we paid defectors 10% of their evaluated intelligence value?
No, but it's probably worth it.
Makes sense, right? Yeah, he defected, and they used his tactics and other things during the first Gulf War I. He was there, helping the pilots understand because that's what the Iraqis were flying. Or MiGs, and that his intelligence value for that estimated in terms of millions of dollars, basically, and he was now no longer working for the agencies or anything else, and he was a millionaire living down in Miami, and he heard that I was going to be in Maho Bay and showed up, and now he spoke English. It was many years later, but yeah, but he to answer the question of why that I learned that from him is because he had turned himself into a disc jockey. I mean a DJ, seriously, like a rave DJ,
like a T-Still or
like music and stuff. And he called himself DJ Nostradamus, which I thought was like the funniest thing. This former Soviet MiG pilot, now DJ Nostradamus, down in the Virgin Islands, playing at these various clubs. And I asked him, I said, what the hell? What's the DJ Nostradamus? Where'd you come up with that? He goes, it's simple. He goes, it's all about the beats per minute. He goes, the beats per minute move people. It affects them. Because it affects them in a physiological way, and it follows with a psychological way. And he says something very, very interesting. He said, DJs are going to be the shaman of the new millennium. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
MiG pilot,
but what delta wave or not delta wave? What brainwave state do you want to be in ideally for remote viewing? Is it alpha wave, delta wave?
Remote viewing, alpha brainwave state, which is 8 to 15 hertz. So how do you get there? Well, if you go deeper, the theory would be if you go deeper, what will bring you back up into that range will be your conscious maneuver through the structure, right? It's called, you'll end up porpoising, right? You'll come up, you go down, you'll come up, you go down, you'll notice something, you'll go back down, or you'll notice something and come back up. And so this is where the hemisync programs and other kinds of things came into being, which Robert Monroe did not invent hemisync. Hemisync was actually first explored or first understood, I think, in, my God, it was either 1780s or the 1830s or something like that. There was a Eastern European audiologist who discovered that by setting a person in a chair and putting these paper cones that went all the way out several feet, like 6 feet, and he would have an assistant, and what they would do is they would hit two different tuning forks and put them in the wide end of the cone, so as it came down to the ear. And what he was doing was measuring changes in heart rate, observation of pupil dilation or constriction. He was also measuring, taking pulse rates and things like that. I mean, it was a long time ago, so it wasn't really sophisticated. But that was when hemispherical synchronization, two different frequencies being played into the ears, would in some way change or transform the physiology of the human being. It went through many other studies and progressions all the way up. In the unit, none of this was used. There were some hemisync tapes, but they were completely for other things. So I asked Fern if there was something I could do to go learn to get to an altered state of consciousness, and he allowed me to go to the Greater New England Academy of Hypnosis, GENIA. So I went for a 4-day seminar on self-hypnosis or hypnosis, which I was intrigued by it and affected by it. Not that they could, set me on fire and I would be okay, or tell me I was set on fire. I wasn't that susceptible or receptive to it. But I do know that my physiology changed in the doing of it, right? I could feel my heart slow and feel my body relax. And I thought, okay, this will work for me.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification buttons. Additionally, if you have any feedback, please put something in the comments below. And lastly, if you want to watch the full episode of this clip, you can find it above. Thanks again for watching.